Hi, this is Steve with Mod in Japan, and today we're going to talk about the infamous Novel Racing Exhaust Manifold for the Lexus ISF, RCF, GSF, and IS500. Cool new update, they've gone from a Gen 2 to a Gen 3. Yes, this is surprising since the Generation 2 just came out, but they just informed me that they figured out a new iteration that is pretty cool and neat. So today we're going to be talking about that and going through what the previous generations had and what is new in the Generation 3. So let's talk about the exhaust manifold. Let's talk about its components and what makes it so prestigious and desired. So the Novel Racing Exhaust Manifold is a very special exhaust manifold. It is neither equal length or unequal length, it's somewhere in between. It is handcrafted in Japan and is, well, quite frankly, borderline art. It is individually pie cut and bent and then pre-assembled. And what really makes it unique is that it has individual runners that are not welded together. A lot of people go through the process of asking, well, how come the exhaust manifold isn't welded together? Well, you really only understand that once you go through the installation process. Each of the individual runners are manufactured individually and then installed on the car one by one and then put together in a merge collector. The reason why it's designed this way is because the way the pipes are flowed, it would be impossible to install this exhaust manifold without assembling them onto the car one by one. So one of the caveats of having an interesting design and an interesting manufacturing process is an interesting price. So the reason why it's so expensive is this piece is handmade in Japan by only 2 artisans in Japan, and it takes forever to produce these pieces. So the long lead time and low quantity of production is really why the cost is high. With exotic production and low quantity comes high costs, but the result is a beautiful exotic car note that is signature to Novel and makes this thing one of the most coveted pieces for any of the Lexus F models. Now, let's go through the differences in the generations. Now, the first Generation 1 is what really captured the Lexus community's attention. Because of that signature sound and that signature look, the Generation 1 came at a pretty hefty price point, but also made a lot of waves in the Lexus community. Now, moving on from that, they didn't want to change that exhaust note sound, so they made a minor iteration for Gen 2. So to increase the performance of that manifold, they decided to try to maximize the size of the merge collector by making it as large as humanly possible to fit in the transmission tunnel, as well as reduce the amount of pie cuts that are done on each of the individual runners and have more of bent piping and then welded together so that the diameter of the exhaust pipes is maintained for a higher flow rate. Now that was late last year when they had come out with the Generation 2, and during that process, they actually had an interesting idea. Now that you've created a merge collector that is larger in overall size and the flow is increased, is it possible to direct that airflow in a more meaningful way so that you have even more increased airflow? The answer to that question is their new Generation 3 merge collector. So the improvements that they had in Generation 2 with the larger diameter and less bends on the individual runners is still maintained. But in Gen 3, they now have a Vortex merge collector. Now what do I mean by Vortex merge collector? And we'll show you through some footage of what it physically looks like, but what it does is it bends in a vortex looking shape. And they did CFD testing to show that it actually improves the flow rate of the air from the exhaust. So in summary, the Generation 3 is not a major leap forward compared to the Generation 2, but more of a Japanese-style Kaizen building towards perfection mentality. It already builds on an incredibly improved Generation 2, but adds a subtle but noticeable difference in the merge collector, which in a very, very Japanese way is even more difficult to produce and even more difficult to quality control, but Novel Racing is always pursuing perfection and making things better and better. So that's essentially what Generation 3 looks like. So again, appreciate you guys for this quick video. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you like the content that you see, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel and allows us to make more video content like this. If you guys have any particular questions or any kind of content that you would like to see created, please let us know in the comments below so that we can get to that in a future video. And we will link all the previous videos we've done in the past about the Novel Exhaust Manifold, as well as other exhaust manifold options you have available for your F model in the description below. Don't be afraid to also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and possibly TikTok, maybe? If you guys want to see us on there, let us know in the comments below. And again, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.